My name is Marcus. I'm 34 years old, and I never thought my own father would ban my children from family dinners just because they're mixed race. But he forgot one crucial detail that would make him regret those words forever. Let me start from the beginning. I'm Marcus Thompson, and for the past 8 years, I've been the proud owner of Thompson's Family Kitchen, a cozy restaurant that's been the heart of our family gatherings for nearly a decade. What started as my dream became the place where 3 generations of Thompsons would meet every Sunday for dinner, or so I thought. My wife Maria is Mexican-American, and we have 2 beautiful kids, Sophia, 7, and Diego, 5. They're the light of my life, bilingual, smart as whips, and have always been the center of attention at our family dinners. At least, that's how it used to be. The trouble started about 6 months ago when my father, Robert Thompson, began making subtle comments. Maybe the kids should speak English at the dinner table, he'd mutter when Sophia would excitedly tell her grandmother something in Spanish. Or boys shouldn't be playing with dolls when Diego brought his favorite toy to dinner. Maria and I exchanged concerned glances, but we tried to brush it off. Dad was 68, set in his ways, and we figured he'd come around. After all, he'd always seemed to love the kids before. But then came the incident that changed everything. It was a typical Sunday evening 3 weeks ago. The restaurant was closed to the public, as it always was for our family dinners. Mom had made her famous apple pie, my brother Jake was there with his wife and kids, and everything seemed normal. That's when Sophia accidentally knocked over her water glass while trying to reach for more bread. Perdón abuela, she said apologetically to my mother, immediately switching to Spanish in her moment of panic. That's when my father exploded. Enough, he shouted, slamming his fork down so hard the entire table shook. I'm sick and tired of this foreign language at my family dinner table. We speak English in this family, and if these kids can't respect that, maybe they don't belong here anymore. The entire restaurant went dead silent. Even the kitchen staff, who were cleaning up in the back, stopped what they were doing. My mother looked horrified, my brother stared at his plate, and my wife's face went pale. But it was my children's expressions that broke my heart. Sophia's eyes filled with tears, and little Diego crawled into his mother's lap, not understanding why Grandpa was suddenly so angry with them. Dad, they're just kids, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. Sophia was just apologizing for spilling her water. I don't care what she was doing, he snapped back. This is America, Marcus. Your kids need to learn that. And frankly, maybe it's time we had some family dinners with just family. The implication was crystal clear. My mixed-race children weren't real family in his eyes. What exactly are you saying, Dad? I asked, though I already knew the answer would destroy something irreparable between us. I'm saying maybe your kids aren't welcome at family dinner anymore, he said coldly. At least not until they can act like proper American children. The words hit me like a physical blow. My mother started crying quietly, my brother looked like he wanted to disappear, and Maria was holding our children so tightly I thought she might never let them go. Robert, you can't mean that, my mother whispered through her tears. I absolutely mean it, Helen, he replied, not even looking at his grandchildren. This is supposed to be family time, not some multicultural experiment. That's when something inside me snapped. But instead of exploding like he had, I felt a cold, calculating fury settle over me. My father had just banned my children from family dinner, but he'd forgotten one very important detail. All right, Dad, I said quietly, standing up from the table. If that's how you feel, then I think this family dinner is over. Good, he said smugly. Maybe next week we can have a peaceful meal for once. I looked around the restaurant, my restaurant, that I'd built from nothing. The walls covered with family photos, including dozens of pictures of Sophia and Diego. The custom-made table I'd installed specifically for our family gatherings. The special kids menu I'd created just for them. Actually, Dad, I said, my voice deadly calm, there won't be a next week. He looked confused. What do you mean? I mean you seem to have forgotten something very important, I continued, pulling out my phone. You see, this isn't just any restaurant where we happen to have family dinner. This is my restaurant. I own Thompson's Family Kitchen. Every table, every chair, every fork you're holding, it all belongs to me. The color drained from his face as the realization hit him. And since my children aren't welcome at family dinner anymore, I continued, and this is where family dinner happens, I guess that means you're not welcome here anymore either. Marcus, you can't be serious, my brother Jake spoke up for the first time. It's just a restaurant. No, Jake, it's not just a restaurant, I replied, my voice getting stronger. It's the place I built to bring our family together. It's where I've spent 8 years hosting every birthday, every anniversary, every celebration for this family. And now Dad has decided that 2 members of this family, my children, aren't good enough to be here. I pulled up my phone and started typing. As of right now, I'm implementing a new policy for Thompson's Family Kitchen. Any individual who has banned children from family gatherings due to their race or ethnicity is no longer welcome on these premises. My father's face turned red with anger. You can't ban me from family dinner. Watch me, I said coldly. You see, Dad, when you decided my kids weren't family enough for your family dinner, you forgot that without my restaurant, there is no family dinner. And without my kids being welcome, there's no point in having one. I turned to address the rest of the family. Anyone who wants to continue having family dinners with all members of the family, including Sophia and Diego, is welcome to join us next Sunday at the same time. Anyone who agrees with Dad's perspective can find somewhere else to eat. My mother immediately stood up, tears streaming down her face. I want to be here with my grandchildren, she said firmly, looking directly at my father. All of my grandchildren. My brother Jake looked torn for a moment, then slowly stood up as well. The kids are family, Dad. Marcus is right. One by one, everyone else at the table stood up in solidarity, except for my father, who sat there red-faced and stunned. This is ridiculous, he shouted. It's my family. I've been coming to these dinners longer than anyone. And you can keep coming, I said calmly. Right after you apologize to Sophia and Diego, admit that what you said was wrong, and promise it will never happen again. Until then, you're not welcome in my restaurant. He looked around the table at his entire family standing against him, then back at me. You're really going to choose them over your own father? Dad, I said sadly, you're the one who made me choose. You decided that my children, your grandchildren, weren't family enough for family dinner. So now you get to experience what it feels like to not be welcome at family dinner. He stormed out of the restaurant, muttering under his breath about ungrateful sons and political correctness gone mad. The rest of the family stayed for another hour, with my mother apologizing profusely to Sophia and Diego, and my brother explaining to his own kids why what Grandpa said was wrong. We turned what could have been a traumatic evening into a teaching moment about standing up for what's right. But I wasn't done yet. Over the next week, I made some changes to Thompson's Family Kitchen. I added a large sign by the entrance that read, "All families welcome, love has no color, language, or border." I created a new section on the menu called Sophia's Favorites, featuring kid-friendly Mexican-American fusion dishes. And I started hosting a weekly multicultural family night, every Thursday, where families could share dishes from their heritage. The response from the community was overwhelming. Local news picked up the story after someone posted about it on social media, and suddenly we were booked solid for weeks. Families from all backgrounds started coming in, sharing their stories of standing up against prejudice. Meanwhile, my father spent that first Sunday alone at home, probably expecting us to call and beg him to come back. We didn't. The second Sunday, my mother called him and invited him to apologize and rejoin the family. He refused, insisting he'd done nothing wrong. The third Sunday, my brother tried. Same result. By the fourth Sunday, something interesting happened. My father showed up at the restaurant, but instead of coming inside, he stood outside looking through the window. I could see him watching Sophia and Diego laughing with their grandmother, playing with their cousins, being loved and celebrated by the rest of the family. He stood there for almost an hour before finally leaving. This went on for 2 more weeks. Every Sunday, he'd show up and watch from outside, never coming in, never apologizing, but clearly missing what he'd lost. Finally, last Sunday, exactly 7 weeks after that terrible dinner, he walked through the door during our family meal. The entire table went quiet as he approached. He looked directly at Sophia and Diego, who were coloring on their kids' menus, and cleared his throat. Sophia, Diego, he said quietly, I owe you both an apology. The whole restaurant seemed to hold its breath. What I said about you not being welcome was wrong, he continued, his voice shaking slightly. You are my grandchildren, and you are always welcome wherever I am. I'm sorry I hurt your feelings, and I'm sorry I said those terrible things. Sophia looked up from her coloring with those big, innocent eyes and said, It's okay, Grandpa. Do you want to color with us? Just like that, with the forgiveness that only children can offer, she handed him a crayon. My father broke down crying right there in the middle of the restaurant. Through his tears, he looked at me and said, I'm sorry, son. I was wrong. About everything. I know, Dad, I replied. But it's not really me you needed to apologize to. He sat down next to his grandchildren and spent the rest of the evening coloring pictures of families, all different colors, all holding hands. The lesson he learned that day was the same one I'd learned years ago when I first became a father. Family isn't about what you look like or what language you speak. It's about who loves you unconditionally and who you choose to love back. My father forgot that I owned the restaurant where our family dinners happened. But more importantly, he forgot that being the patriarch of a family means protecting and celebrating all members of that family, not deciding which ones are worthy of your love. These days, our Sunday family dinners are bigger and more joyful than ever. My father now asks Sophia to teach him Spanish words, and he's learned to say hola, mi nieta hermosa, when he greets her. Diego proudly shows him his toys, regardless of what color they are or whether they're appropriate for boys. And every week, when we sit down at our table in Thompson's family kitchen, surrounded by pictures of our entire family and the All Families Welcome sign by the door, I'm reminded that sometimes the most powerful revenge isn't about punishment. It's about teaching someone what they stand to lose when they choose hate over love. My father said my kids weren't welcome at family dinner anymore. He forgot I owned the restaurant. But what he really forgot was that family is something you build, not something you exclude people from. And now, every Sunday, he gets to remember what he almost lost forever.